There's regular ponies, there's anthroponies, and then there's this. Best Princess teams up with the CMC in this month's issue of Friends Forever. When Celestia is unable to host a get-together with the future Philly leaders of Equestria, Luna takes her place, and with the help of the CMC, she tries to make sure that things go as smoothly as they can. So what's good? While it took a bit for me to warm up to it, I kinda like the premise of Luna being in this situation. Celestia makes a good point by saying that showing young ponies that they're capable of achieving greatness by being more down to earth with them can bring out the best of their generation. Some may see it as being unprofessional or a waste of time for mares of their stature, but in this day and age, it's no different from seeing the US president playing basketball with college students. Even if they are important political figures, they can still reach out to the youth. I also like that the comic managed to show that the CMC have matured somewhat while still being themselves. Had this comic taken place around seasons 1 or 2, I would have expected them to raise hell with the rest of the Phillies and cause more trouble for Luna. But instead, they worked together with her while also reinforcing their past relationship. Speaking of which, I can see how Luna's experiences with the CMC would lead people to question why she's suddenly apprehensive at the prospect of looking after young Phillies. But I can somewhat believe it. For one, when Luna does her duties in the dream world, she's only helping one pony at a time, with personal problems, most of which she can relate to. But now she's suddenly thrust into a large group, where instead of tending to personal needs, she has to hold the interest of many. It would be like taking a person who's used to one-on-one tutoring and making them plan a whole teaching unit for a class of many students. There's a difference between helping out one kid at a time and facilitating an event for many of them. And on top of that, as far as we know, Luna has never facilitated any kind of event. So with that in mind, I can kinda buy her inexperience. So what's not so good? While I do enjoy Luna as a character, I don't enjoy it when they have her constantly lamenting over her past actions as Nightmare Moon, despite the fact that everyone has already forgiven her for it. And she's shown to be a well-adjusted mare otherwise. Yes, I understand that the guilt from something like that can linger even after forgiveness, but we've gone down this road before, and it seems unnecessary at this point in the series. I was never a big fan of stories that go out of their way to make you feel sorry for a character, instead of letting their experiences speak for themselves. I mean, really, how many times do we have to reaffirm the fact that the other ponies forgive and love Luna? How many times? Thankfully, this lamenting doesn't last long, and it doesn't have that large of an impact on the story as a whole, but then that makes you wonder why they bothered to include it in the first place. Visually speaking, the comic showcases some of the best and most of the worst parts about Jay Fosgitt's style. I look at 2-page spreads like these and see that there's some good in the style, and it can work, and Fosgitt can pull off some cool shots from time to time. But then I look at a lot of the other panels and get put off a bit, more so than I usually do when it comes to his comics. There isn't anything wrong with how he draws the ponies' features specifically, but their proportions can get way too exaggerated, and there's a big lack of consistency in said proportions in this issue alone. You don't even want to know how many jabs at his style had to be cut from this video's script. Are those supposed to be shoes or socks? While everyone has their own taste in which styles are more appealing to them, the artist still has to commit to how they draw characters in a given issue. Changing things up in between issues to see how those changes work is one thing, but having such drastic differences in a single character's basic proportions within the same story is just inconsistent. Lastly, the involvement of Thestra in this story is kinda half and half for me. On one hand, it's cool to see the CMC help someone out along with Luna, but on the other, she feels kinda tacked on, along with Discount Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon Light. Overall, Friends Forever 28 has an interesting premise and some good ideas, but the inconsistent visual style and the slight rehashing of Luna's go-to character arc keep me from recommending it to anyone other than the dedicated comic fans. Next month we get a pairing of Diamonds and Rocks, and I'm not opposed to seeing more of Best Unicorn. So what do you think of Friends Forever 28? Swarm that comment section below or bug me on social media, and consider supporting me through Patreon or PayPal art commissions. Until next time, keep it sketchy, folks.